welcome to the Week 12 Early Line Show here on Dead Money Sports. It's your host, Jesse, back with you. We had a successful Week 11, 4-1 with our Circa picks. We are 32-23 on the season, sitting in about 350th place, just outside of the paid positions. But Week 11 is almost over. We've got the Monday Night Football game still ahead of us with the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Not a whole lot of action on that game, as both teams are well below 500 and not really much public interest in that one. But we're going to take a look at the Week 12 lines to see which games we're interested in for the upcoming week as we prepare for the Thursday night lines release show and the watch party. We've got a good matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans in Houston. This line's been on the move. It was 4.5 earlier this morning, and it's already jumped to minus 5.5 in the consensus. Total sitting at 43.5. This is a tough matchup. We know this Houston defense has played really well at home. Obviously, they have been playing with their backup quarterback, Davis Mills. We'll have to keep an eye on if whether or not C.J. Stroud will be available in this matchup on Thursday night, as it's a quick turnaround. You know, we've seen some tight matchups, obviously, last week between the Patriots and the Jets. If you were on the Jets, that was a horrendous way to lose with that late game fumble that gave the Patriots an opportunity to just get over the number when it was minus 12.5, and they ended up winning the game by 13. Now we've got a road favorite of 5.5 with Buffalo. Buffalo coming off the big win against Tampa Bay at home, and the Houston Texans with the win in Tennessee, taking on beating the lonely Titans. No surprise that they won that game, but they did not cover the spread. Tennessee was able to keep it within the number. I don't use these games in the contest very often, and I won't be using this one, as you don't know what you're going to get from Houston's offense. And Buffalo, I think, was just in an advantageous spot against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, offensively, still missing some of their key pieces. They were playing in Buffalo, and that game was tight for a while, and then it kind of got away from them towards the end there. So I'm not really sure where we're going to go as far as a side in that game. But as far as the total at 43.5, I would take the under in this game, as I don't think Houston's going to be scoring a lot of points, and I think Buffalo will struggle against this very, very good Houston pass rush, and their secondary will match up against these below level wide receiver group with Buffalo. Obviously, they were without one of their guys last week, Keon Coleman, because of a disciplinary issue. So we'll have to see what kind of a performance, if he's going to even play, as Buffalo's passing game did look pretty good with the guys they had in this lineup. But I don't think they're going to match up very well against this Houston defense. And I think they're going to be able to keep this game close. It'll be a low-scoring game. If you like Houston, you're going to want it to be a low-scoring game. And that's how I see it. I don't think I'll get involved in the side, but I will take the under 43.5 in this Thursday night matchup. We'll be having the watch show here on YouTube Thursday night. Hit that like and subscribe and the notification bell so you're notified when the live stream starts for the Thursday night football watch party and the Circa line release show for Week 12. This Week 12, remember, we've got 4 teams on the bye. Next week, there are no teams on the bye. We have all 32 teams in action with the Thursday, Thanksgiving 3 games, the Black Friday game, and then the weekend slate. So no teams after this week, we'll be heading into the bye. Early window, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the very hot Chicago Bears. Bears were able to get that win on the road against Minnesota. They were 2.5-point dogs and got the outright win on a game-winning field goal. Steelers got the win, but what did it cost them? As they may be without Aaron Rodgers. It looks like he broke his wrist. We don't know whether or not he's going to be able to play. That obviously is a big concern. It would be Mason Rudolph, I believe, if Rodgers can't go. This line is sitting at the consensus of -3 for Chicago. 45 to 45.5 is the total. And, people have been looking for reasons to fade this Chicago team. Obviously, they feasted on turnovers against J.J. McCarthy. That was a big factor. They had some turnovers in the red zone that cost them opportunities for points in a very tight game. Chicago's been living on the edge during this winning streak they've been on. What will we get from this Pittsburgh team? We don't know who's playing quarterback. It's hard to predict this game when you don't know who's going to be playing, but I would certainly take the under 45, as I don't think either team offensively will do much in this game. If I had to take a side at this point, it would be Pittsburgh plus the 3, as I think Caleb Williams, the way that he scrambles around the pocket, and tries to avoid sacks. He was in the grasp a few times against Minnesota and was able to get out of it. I don't know if that's going to be something that could happen against this Pittsburgh defense. They're very physical, and they could certainly keep themselves in this game. Will they get the bump if it's Mason Rudolph at quarterback? Potentially. Rodgers has not looked great. He's not wanting to take contact. Obviously makes sense now with his injury. An older guy getting hit, as long as he's been in the league, it makes sense, but it also takes away from, some of their opportunities offensively. So maybe Rudolph gives them a little bump 1 week. So if I had to take a side, it would be Pittsburgh plus the 3. This is a rah-rah Tomlin spot against the Chicago Bears team that once again has been living off turnovers. And even with the turnover differential that they had, they still needed a last-second field goal. And at some point, these coin flip games are going to go the other way. And this could potentially be the one. Not overwhelmingly confident, again, because we don't know who's playing at quarterback for Pittsburgh. But as of right now, as it stands, I would take the Steelers plus the 3 points and under 45.5. New York Jets taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore struggled early against Cleveland's very stout defense, but eventually got the dub. New York Jets benching Justin Fields after that horrendous performance on Thursday Night Football. Another game where he had less than 100 yards passing, I believe. And now they're going with Tyrod Taylor. I don't know what this signifies. I mean, they traded away some of their key players before the trade deadline. Now they're benching their young quarterback that was brought in to, build this offense around for an older backup who's really only, in the league because of his experience level. I don't think he's much of an improvement, although he is better at protecting the ball from turnovers, Tyrod is, but I don't see the passing offense suddenly becoming this prolific offense simply because you swap out a quarterback that, he's at the same threshold as Fields for the most part. A little better at recognizing defenses than Fields is, but I don't see much of a bump. I really think this signifies that the Jets are throwing the towel in on this season, and they're tanking for the number 1 pick and going to be drafting their hopeful future franchise quarterback in the upcoming draft. This line, the consensus is minus 13.5 for the Ravens, so big number. Not expecting much from the Jets offense, as not only is it minus 13.5, but the total is sitting somewhere in the neighborhood of 44.5. So if Baltimore is supposed to cover this big number, and the total is low, they're not expecting very much from this Jets offense. I really don't want anything to do with this game because I hate laying double digits with Baltimore. I know I've said it repeatedly that double digit favorites are double digit favorites for a reason, and that historically taking the double digit favorite has been the right side. But I've also been burned by this same regime in Baltimore with the quarterback and the head coach laying double digits and watching them burn double digit leads late in games, allowing the dog to get back within the number. And although Baltimore goes on to eventually usually win the game, they don't cover the double digit spread. So if I had to take a side, it would be the Jets and the points, but I'm not getting involved in that, and I really don't want much to do with this total because I know Baltimore's offense. They look, obviously in the fourth quarter against Cleveland, they opened up the gap in that game, but they still only won by 7, and that was against Gabriel for a while, and then Shedeur Sanders, came in and gave them a couple turnovers and didn't make very many plays either. Struggled in that game. Yeah, this is just a pass for me. I really don't want anything to do with it. And the thing of it is I put out a poll when it comes to the Circa Million Contest of do people avoid double-digit spreads when choosing their 5 selections for the Circa contest, and overwhelmingly the responses were yes, they do avoid them. So we can pretty much bank on the fact that this is going to be an unpopular game, and I don't know if I can get involved in it. So I believe I'm just going to pass on this one and let the degenerates out there sweat out whether or not the Jets can get within this 13.5. Next up, New York Giants taking on the Detroit Lions. The total sitting at 50. The line is sitting at 10.5. Last week we had I believe 9 games in the contest that fell between 2.5 and 3.5. This week we've got multiple games at double digits, and we've got quite a few that are sitting at 6.5 to 7. So the books are inflating the lines based off of last week's results, not giving us an opportunity to essentially just pick the winner, and the outcome will more than likely also be covering of the spread. Another double digits, 10.5 with the Lions. Lions losing in prime time against a very good Philadelphia Eagles team. I know people are talking a lot about the controversy, wide receiver not happy. They lost Lane Johnson with a Liz Frank injury, so he's going to be out for a while. The Giants starting Jameis Winston in place of Jackson Dart. Not sure if Dart will be back out of the concussion protocol before this game. The Giants were able to get the push, depending on what number you got. If you got Green Bay minus 6.5, then you were fine. If you got 7, you got a push. If you got 7.5 with the Giants, you got the win. In the Circa contest, it was 7, so it was a push. They had an opportunity to tie that game. Jameis, as Jameis does, had some turnovers, also had some touchdowns. He's going to throw the ball. He's going to give his receivers an opportunity. I just don't think the Giants receiving core is that type of contested catch group that Jameis thrives with. Now you're going to go up against the Detroit Lions team that was manhandled outdoors in inclement weather by the Philadelphia Eagles. Now going home where they've really thrived, and this Giants team has not been good against the run. What do we know about the Detroit Lions? They can run the ball. So although there's a double-digit spread in this game, I'm going to lay the 10.5 with the Lions and expect Jameis again to commit some turnovers. And I just don't think this Giants defense is going to have much to do to stop Detroit. Once you get Jared Goff inside the friendly confines of Ford Field, where he doesn't have to worry about wind and cold and the elements and whatnot, That's when he's at his best. A lot of people were taking Detroit last week, one, because they've just covered the spread at a ridiculous rate over the last few seasons, but in that off a loss situation, historically Goff and Campbell together have been very good against the spread. I think this is the week where that system comes into play here. You're going to get the best version of this Detroit offense. I really think they're going to run the ball with purpose. This offensive line is going to be road grading against this against this Giants front. You're going to see the speed of these backs and the power of Montgomery come into play, and it'll set up the play action, and Goff will be able to exploit it. I think Laporta was out last week. He should probably be back. Gives them another receiving option. The total shows there's going to be points in this game, but I don't think the Giants are going to be the ones scoring them. So give me the Detroit Lions minus the 10.5. I don't know about the total in this one because I would want to take under 50, but that's just saying that you don't expect the Giants to do much, and I don't. So I wouldn't mess with the total too much. I think this needs to go up. Let's see if this goes, if there's more money coming in on, let's see where it is. If there's more money coming in on the total, where are we at? All right, this is just they don't have the total bets right now. They just have the ticket count and the money coming in on Detroit, which the ticket count right now, 90%, 89% of the money is coming in on Detroit. And remember, this is early in the week. Public really doesn't start betting until Saturday or even Sunday pregame. So much of this information when it comes to the amount of money and tickets coming in on one side are usually sharp bettors, people who are getting in early on the market before this line moves. I mean, you can see there's some, it opened at 9.5 and now it's pretty much painted at between 10.5 at most places. And the line opened up at 48.5 and it's already moving up to 50. You're seeing some 50.5s out there. So I think people are recognizing that this Detroit running game, it's probably going to be the dominant side in this game. So although it's a big number, I say it often, double-digit favorites are double-digit favorites for a reason. Let's take the 10.5 with Detroit. This one could potentially make the card, as I don't think it's going to be very popular in the contest after the results of last week. People have been burned by Detroit a couple weeks in a row now. They're not, feeling the vibe of earlier in the year where they were covering every single game by, a ridiculous amount of points. This is the time you want to jump back on the train with Detroit. We got some real good games this week. We've got some stinkers. I've got 5 games I keyed as big games, and 9 games as I've keyed as either 50-50 games, and there's 2 ugly games with Cleveland, Vegas, and Atlanta, New Orleans. But this is a 50-50 game. You've got New England just, running roughshod over the AFC East and, tied, I believe, for first. They're right behind Denver because of the conference wins as far as who gets the number 1 spot right now. But they're just playing outstanding. Vrabel's got this team playing great. Cincinnati struggling against Pittsburgh, got blown out in that game. Looks like they could potentially be without Jamar Chase as he's been suspended for 1 game for spitting at or on Jalen Ramsey. He's appealing it. I don't think they're going to win the appeal. There's video evidence. He clearly spit on him. And I don't know. I mean, if you take away the 1 game suspension, then what do? You fine him and let him play? I think they're going to make an example out of Chase, and he's not playing. This line is sitting at -8. That's been on the move because earlier this morning it was sitting at 7, 7.5, and now 8. So there's money coming in on the Patriots, and as you can see, 88% of the tickets and 91% of the money is on New England. It opened at -5. After that debacle by the Cincinnati Bengals against Pittsburgh, this line has just been going up, up, up. And it's just this is a hard spot to handicap. Is Joe Burrow going to even be back? I don't know. I have to obviously keep an eye on that. I probably won't have much to do with this game, but I would take the under 49. Cincinnati has no running game. New England's been good against the run, and their defensive backs are really starting to play well. This Gonzalez is really good, and if you're taking Jamar Chase out, that leaves T. Higgins as the wide receiver one, so I'm sure Gonzalez is going to be matched up against him in this game as much as possible. That could potentially eliminate their number one option in passing the ball. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do much offensively. But this number at -8 now is just, it might be a little too much. We're going to have to take a deeper dive into this. And obviously the Jamar Chase news is always a big one. Total sitting at 49. Some places 50, but the consensus is 49. I think this number is right on. I just don't really want much to do with this game. Yeah, this is just it's pretty much right on the number right now where the total is and the spread is. So it's hard to know what to do with this one, especially when we don't know who exactly is going to be playing for Cincinnati. So I believe might be another pass for me. Seattle and Tennessee, another one of these 50-50 games where you've got one good team, one bad team. Seattle nearly pulled off the win against the Rams. We were on the Rams in the contest. We took them -3, so it was disappointing. That was our one loss. It was disappointing when they went down and scored that late touchdown to get within 2, and then they punt the ball and pin them at the half-yard line, and I'm like, come on, let's get a safety, a holding penalty in the end zone, something, and they were able to at least move the ball down and gave Myers an opportunity at a shot for a field goal, but couldn't get it. You know, that game, out of everything that you could take from that game, the Seattle defense really impressed me that with the turnover differential that they had to compete against with Darnold throwing, I believe, 4 interceptions, that they were able to keep their team in that game and only lose by 2 on the road. Now they're laying, the consensus is 13 on the road against Tennessee. Tennessee got the cover but lost straight up to Houston at home. Total at 40.5, so not expecting very much from this team. I think we could see a big day from Darnold in this passing offense. You know, the Rams defense is just a whole nother animal, and that's the reason why we went with the Rams. I knew they were competing with arguably the best team that they faced in a while. This will be back-to-back road games, but now they've got to travel east to Tennessee. But I think Seattle laying the 13 is the right side here. I just don't know how Tennessee is going to really score on this very good Seattle defense. Calvin Ridley out for the year with a broken fibula, I believe it was. He broke something in his leg, but he's out for the year. So there goes their wide receiver 1. Ward, we know he fumbles. I believe he had like 40 fumbles in his career in college, and he's fumbled quite a few times this year. The Seattle pass rush is just incredible. They can get pressure with 4, and they have these exotic coverage schemes. Mike McDonald is really a great defensive coordinator, and I did not move Seattle down one bit in the power rankings by losing to the Rams. It was set up for the Rams to win that game, and they did everything they could to keep them in that game with as many turnovers as they had. I think this is the get-right spot for Seattle. They're going to really put it on this Tennessee team. I see it 35-13. I would take the over 40.5, as I believe Seattle's passing game with Shaheed and JSN. JSN did not have a very big game against that Rams secondary, and I think we could really see them turn it up. Their special teams are much better than Tennessee. I just think that all the way around, this is a rout. Another double-digit favorite on the road. But again, double-digit favorites are double-digit favorites for a reason. So I'm going to lay the 13 with Seattle, and I would take the over 40.5 as I see this, like I said, 35-13. So that is 48 points. Minnesota and Green Bay. Minnesota, tough loss at home. Green Bay, did they get the win? I think they got the win. Yeah, they got the win against the Giants. Didn't look, very good. Lost some players to injury in that game, so it's going to be, we got to see who's exactly playing. But Packers are laying 6.5 at home against this Minnesota team, and the total is just sitting at 41. Low total, big number. I like Minnesota and the points in this one. I think they're going to get right. Remember, Minnesota had opportunities to score against Chicago. There was some interceptions in the end zone, just bad turnovers by J.J. McCarthy. But again, young, basically rookie quarterback, learning his way in the league. Green Bay has not been the greatest. They were looked good early in the year, but they've struggled down the stretch here. Of course, they did get the win last week, but it wasn't an impressive win against a weak Giants team all the way around. This is a much better Minnesota team that they're going to be facing, and I think Kevin O'Connell is going to really be on his team this week to have them prepared. The defense with their blitz packages from Flores could certainly create some havoc and maybe get one or two turnovers to give Minnesota easier opportunities at points here. So I'm going to take the road dog with the points, and I would take the under 41, as I don't think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. This could be a 24-21. Well, that would be over. Yeah, give me the over. Give me the over. Now that I think about it, because Minnesota can throw the ball. So give me the over. We could certainly see some non-offensive scores in this game. Short fields leading to cheap points. So give me the over 41. If you can find it below that, even better. But I really like Minnesota plus the 6.5 here. I think this is just an inflated line off a misleading loss to Chicago and a misleading win by Green Bay in New York. Probably the best game of the slate. Indianapolis Colts coming off the bye, taking on Kansas City, who lost on the road against Denver. We had Denver plus the points, so was more than happy to see them win that game. I'll tell you what, that extra point being blocked that kept the game tied 3 really changed the dynamic of that game, because if it's 4, you force Denver to have to try to score a touchdown to take the lead. Instead, they were able to kick the field goal, tied the game, and then ended up getting an opportunity to win it later on. Now Kansas City's got a rebound from that loss. They're at home. They're laying 3.5 to this very hot Colts team. But again, they went into the bye. They won their game against the Falcons, but they had to go to overtime and needed a late game field goal just to get it to that point. Can Kansas City's offense stop the pass rush of the Colts and give Mahomes and this offense opportunities to move the ball and score points? They settled for field goals against that Denver pass rush. And Denver's defense just committed so many penalties, man. So many cheap first downs, and they still couldn't punch it in. But the Indianapolis Colts secondary isn't very good either. They've been really feasting off of the being able to stop the run and getting pass rush. Not having DeForest Buckner it might hurt this Colts team. The total sitting at 50. You're seeing some 50.5s out there. I definitely like the under in this game. Both teams don't play at a high pace. We know the Colts like to run the ball, which chews up clock. I think Spags will have a really good defensive plan against this Colts team to try to take Jonathan Taylor out and make Daniel Jones pass them the victory. I really like the under in this game, so try to find the 50.5 if you can get that. If I had to take a side in this one, I'm taking the Colts. I'm taking the Chiefs minus the 3.5. I think coming off the bye, normally you think, oh, off the bye, they're going to play well, but we've seen teams come off the bye and play flat. When you go into the bye hot, you don't want it then. You want to keep playing. You want to keep the momentum going. Instead, they've taken their foot off the throttle, I think, as they go into the bye. Then they come back out and they've got to get back into it. You're seeing a Kansas City Chiefs team that is in desperation mode because they could very easily be eliminated from even making the wild card because they're not winning the AFC West. Denver's got a stranglehold on that one. So the only way the Kansas City Chiefs are even making the playoffs is as a wild card. They cannot afford to lose another game, especially against a conference opponent like the Colts. So give me the Chiefs minus the 3.5. But I really like the under 50.5 in this one. Jacksonville and Arizona. Jacksonville, 2.5-point favorites on the road. Total sitting at 47.5. Arizona struggled against a very motivated, very determined San Francisco team. Jacksonville looked really good against the Chargers. Chargers' offensive line could not block their pass rush. Herbert was under duress all game. That was a no-sweat win for us. We had the Jags plus the 3. That one really felt good. But now we're fading them. We're fading the Jags. Give me the Arizona Cardinals at home plus the 2.5. Let's see if Marvin Harrison comes back. Let's see who's back on defense. I think Jacoby Brissett will play a lot better against this Jacksonville team than he did against San Francisco because those are division opponents. They really know each other well. These are two teams that don't face each other very often as they're in different conferences. Jacksonville having to go out west after the big win at home. And I could certainly see this as a letdown spot. Brian Thomas was ruled out late last week. Will he be available this week? We don't know. I don't know how much of a difference that makes. The real key to this game for me is who's playing for Arizona. If they've got their complementary pieces on defense back in their secondary, I think this defense will play well, and I like Arizona to be able to move the ball on Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence plays with a lot of inconsistency. We could see him make some mistakes in this game. Give Arizona a shot. So give me the home dog plus 3 or plus 2.5. And I would take under 47.5, but I really think this number it's about right where it needs to be. And again, that fishy 2.5 line. They give you the minus 2.5. Oh, get it under a field goal. Take the Jags. They looked good last week. That's when you want to fade Jacksonville. So I'm going to take Arizona plus the 2.5, and this one could potentially make our Circa card. Let's see where the lines are on Thursday. Again, be sure to join us right here on YouTube for the Thursday Night Football Watch Party and Circa Line Release Show. We've got a good one between Buffalo and Houston. Cleveland and Vegas. Ugh. Vegas still has to play tonight on Monday Night Football. We don't know exactly what we're going to see from them and if this line could change. The way it sits right now, they're laying 3.5 against this Cleveland team. Who's going to play quarterback for Cleveland this week? Who's going to start? We'll have to see. But, man, total sitting at 37. They are not expecting very much offense in this game at all. We saw Vegas defense play okay against that Broncos team on Thursday Night Football. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much that had to do with just being on Thursday night and the short prep week, how that factored into Denver's preparation. Will Cleveland's defense come out motivated to play on the road? I don't expect there to be a big contingency of Cleveland fans in Vegas, so this will be a home game, a rare home game for them, where the crowd will be on their side. I don't like the hook here. I don't like laying more than 3 with Vegas. We'll have to see exactly how this game on Thursday night shakes out. Does Geno Smith make it through the entire game? Does Kenny Pickett end up playing? Does the offensive line look any better than they have recently? This is a tough one. We'll have to wait on this one. We'll have more of a feeling of which way we're going to go after the Monday night game. So we'll talk more about this one on Thursday when the lines are released for Circa. But I would take the under 37. I don't think either one of these offenses is going to do much against these defenses. So we could see a very low-scoring game. This could be like, 17-14 or, 17-12 or something, like 15-12. We could see a bunch of field goals in this game. So give me the under 37. Try to find the 37.5, or if you want to wait till later in the week and see if this number continues to climb. Let's see where we are here. So the under is getting 92% of the tickets and 90% of the money. So the early betting is on the under. So try to find that 37.5 because this number is probably going to drop. Atlanta, New Orleans, the other ugly game. I am a Falcons fan. I warned everyone, do not take them in the game against Carolina. And they blew another fourth quarter lead. Michael Penix looked like absolute booty until he was injured. Now he's out for the year. Drake London might be out, so it's going to be Kirk Cousins at the quarterback, maybe without the number one passing option for this team. And they are 1.5-point dogs on the road in New Orleans. New Orleans coming off the bye after that big win against Carolina. We had them in that game. I told you that two people whose opinion I respected both said to take the Saints in that game, and they got the straight-up win as 5.5-point road dogs against Carolina. Another NFC South matchup now. These teams know each other well. Atlanta's defense has been good. I will say that. Their offense has not been. Their red zone offense has been horrendous, but their defense is playing well. This could be the turnaround spot. This could be where Raheem Morris, knowing this New Orleans team, knowing this divisional opponent, could get this team to right the ship. Kirk Cousins can be an accurate quarterback if given time. Not having Drake London, if he's not in there, really gives me pause. This will not be in the Circa contest. I can tell you that much. Look, and the line's moving now. It went from consensus -1.5 to -2. So we're seeing that the line is moving against Atlanta. So if you like Atlanta, which I do, you want to get out, or it's moving against New Orleans. I'm sorry. You're going to want to if you like New Orleans, you're going to want to get ahead of it. If you like Atlanta, I would take the money line on this one, and don't even lay the 2 points, and expect them to win and cover if you like them. 39, give me the over. Give me the over. We're going to see some turnovers. We're going to see some short fields. We're going to see some cheap points in this one. Give me the over 39 and give me Atlanta. Money line, I wouldn't even take the +2. But this will not be on my Circa card because my confidence level is not high with this Atlanta team. Their red zone offense has just been atrocious. And Morris refuses to do anything with the offensive play calling. Philly and Dallas, another division matchup. Philly taking on Dallas in Dallas. Philly off the big win in primetime. Dallas still has to play tonight on Monday Night Football. So we don't know who will be available. As it sits right now, Philly laying 3.5 on the road, total 50.5. So books are expecting some points from Dallas to help get over this total. Philly didn't look like the greatest team against Detroit. It wasn't like a overwhelming victory. That game really could have gone a different direction. There was a very questionable pass interference call late in the fourth quarter that gave Philly an automatic first down and allowed them to run out the clock, or Detroit would have had an opportunity to potentially tie or win that game with a touchdown. We need to see more of what's going to happen in Monday night. But Dallas's defense, even if they come out and they play really well, obviously they suffered a tragedy with one of their players, Nealon. So will they come out and play motivated, inspired football with him? Obviously the offense has been great all year. It's the defense that can't stop anybody. Philly dealing with injuries. Can their defense match up against this Dallas passing game? The division opponents, so they know each other well. You're laying 3.5. Philly's been covering spreads as short favorites the last couple of weeks. Until we see what happens tonight and we see exactly who's playing for Dallas, this is a hard one to bet. I would probably take the under 50.5 at this point and expect both teams to maybe move the ball but struggle once they get deeper into the opponent's territory. Potentially have to settling for field goals. We know Dallas has one of the better kickers in the league, so they'll try long-distance field goals. It could impact this total. But, yeah, give me the under 50.5 as it sits right now. And we're seeing some – the consensus is 3.5, but you've got -5, -4, -4.5. So, depending on which side you like, if you have an opinion right now, you may want to – if you like Dallas, you may want to try to find that 5 out there. And if you like Philly, you may want to try to find 3.5 and lay that, because this line could certainly shift as the opinion changes after tonight's matchup. But we'll have more on this one during the Thursday night game between Buffalo and Houston right here on the live stream on Dead Money Sports. Another big game. Big matchup is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Rams were able to hold on for that 2-point victory. Again, that was our one loss. We laid the -3 in the contest, gave up the late touchdown, and they couldn't do anything with some of those turnovers. The Rams defense, gets an interception, and then they immediately go 3 and out. And even the punt that was downed inside the 1-yard line, they couldn't create a turnover or create a safety to get us over that 3. Tampa Bay struggled late in that game against Buffalo. Now they've got to go on the road 2 weeks in a row out to Los Angeles. The total 49.5, and the spread is 6.5 with the Rams. Bucky Irving and Godwin were practicing before week 11, though they were ruled out. So they should be back for this week's game. That's going to change this Tampa Bay offense. It's going to give Baker Mayfield more options. It's going to give Todd Bowles more options offensively. We know this defense is good for the Bucs. They can stuff the run. LA's got good receivers. Adams kind of struggled in that game. I don't know if that rib injury affected him, because he had a couple of key drops in that game that could have really changed the outcome for us as far as the spread's concerned. I've been riding high on the Rams recently. We've used them, I want to say, at least 2 weeks in a row, and then 1-1. But I'm gonna take the points with the Bucs here. I'm gonna take the 6.5. I'm gonna expect Todd Bowles and this defense to at least be able to come up with a game plan to keep them in this game. And if Tampa Bay can get back some of their key offensive guys, I think it's going to open up the passing game for Baker. I don't expect the Rams to have 4 interceptions like they did against Seattle last week. So give me the Bucs plus the 6.5. This one could very well make our circa 5. 49.5 is the total. I'm going under in this one. I think Tampa Bay will try to slow this game down. And we know the Rams will run the ball, which will chew up clock. We could see them struggle in the red zone, as Tampa Bay's defense could put the clamps down as they get closer to scoring. As long as they don't give up the big shot, we could see a low-scoring game, maybe 24-20. So give me the under 49.5, but I really like the Bucs plus the 6.5 in this one. And then another surprising, when the schedule makers came out with this schedule for them to put Carolina against San Francisco on a Monday night game, Carolina right there with the Bucks for the division, and San Francisco with another big win. Still, they've got to compete against the Rams and the Seahawks, so it looks like they could potentially be a wild card team. But this team's getting right at the right time, and now they're laying 6.5 at home. You've got 48 as the total. This is a tough one to decide on. You don't know when Carolina got that late come from behind win against Atlanta. What are you going to get from them? Bryce Young. Will San Francisco's defense show up the way they did? Will the offense be as physical as they were against Arizona? After the win, when they were embarrassed against the Rams the week before and came out very motivated. This is a difficult game to handicap. I think the 48's right on the number, and 6.5. I mean, if you like Carolina, try to get the full 7. But again, I think San Francisco will win this game. I know Kyle Shanahan has not been great against the spread in Santa Clara, so it's difficult to want to take San Francisco when I think they're going to win, but I think this line is inflated. So yeah, I don't have much of an opinion on this game, and I doubt it will make the card. I just think there's better options out there. So I don't think I'm going to get involved in this one. We'll have more on this one by Thursday when we do the Circa Line release show. But as of Monday, November 17th, I just have no opinion in this game. So we're going to, for now, put a pin in this one, and we'll come back to it as we get more information throughout the week on who's playing, who's not playing, and all that good stuff. Well, everyone, that is the Week 12 early lines from here at Dead Money Sports. Again, join me on Thursday for the Thursday Night Football Watch Party and the Circa Line release show for Week 12 of the NFL season. Until then, take care of yourselves and be good to one another. Have a good day.